Dr. Rejja Irfan. And the topic of my talk is how to turn tragedies into triumph. How many of us woke up today, looked ourselves in the mirror, and thought how truly grateful we are to be healthy and alive? There's not many of us who can say that we don't take our lives for granted every single day. As a doctor, you really witness how unpredictable life can be. And you learn the importance of being empathetic towards anyone you ever meet. Who you are today might not be who you are tomorrow. You have to master the art and the ability to put yourself in the shoes of someone else and really try to think and feel the way they would in a difficult situation. As a violinist, I see life like playing a violin solo in public, not knowing the instrument, but learning it as you go on. At any point, you can play one wrong note and the entire tune can change. Or a string can break and the music can completely stop. What you do in that situation is important. You are the musician and you decide, are you going to walk off the stage or are you going to stand here, fix what is wrong, and finish your violin piece? In my third year of medical school, I had a patient who was an 18-year-old boy and he had been diagnosed with blood cancer. He wasn't being treated for it because he had no money. And this really upset me because I tried to imagine myself in his situation and what his family must be going through. I decided to do whatever I could because in that moment I was able to ask myself, how can I make a difference in this person's life? So I decided to teach violin to about 15 people and raise a fund for him and many other cancer patients like him. And that chapter in my life taught me what a small act of kindness can do and the power it has. So then I started doing more about it. In my fourth year of medical school, we found out that my maternal uncle had just found out that the thyroid cancer he thought he had beaten twice in the past had returned for the third time, and this time it had spread. Now, my maternal uncle is someone who was extremely close to me, someone who taught me how to laugh, someone who taught me that in order to get through this life, you must have a good sense of humor. So for the next 7 months, my family and I witnessed what a deadly disease like cancer can do to someone so full of life. It can literally take away your energy, your happiness, and your will to live. So we witnessed what it did to our loved ones right in front of our eyes. He was deteriorating, and there was nothing that we could do except for hope for a miracle. My final year of medical school started, and one day in class I got the news that my uncle had lost his battle against cancer. And when I heard that news, the only thing I could think of was the time when I went to go see him in the hospital before he passed away. He managed to smile through all the pain and give me a thumbs up to let me know that he's still trying to fight the disease. And that gave me strength to face the next chapter in my life. Because a week after this happened, I went to class one day, and during my clinical rotation, I was checking a patient and palpating her neck for any abnormal findings. And if you're a medical student, your biggest tool to practice whatever you've learned is your own body. So naturally, to get my concepts clear, I palpated my own neck first. And to my surprise, there was nothing wrong with her, but I found a lump in my own neck. My professor asked me to go get tests done, and many tests and a neck biopsy later, they told me that I had the same cancer that my uncle did. I didn't know how to process what was going on, because for me it was unreal to go to class one day as a medical student who's becoming a doctor to save lives, and then I'm supposed to sleep knowing that I have cancer and I'm a patient now. I hope nobody here ever gets to know or find out what it feels like to be registered as a cancer patient in a hospital when you're so used to going around that hospital as a doctor who saves lives. And that, like I said earlier, that is what life is like. Your role in life can change like that. You can go from saving lives to needing someone to save your life. What followed was a series of treatment, a surgery, and a lot of depression for my entire family. My treatment required me to stay in the hospital, stay isolated for a few days, which was enough time for me to really reflect on how I feel about the situation and find ways in which I can spread thyroid cancer awareness and the importance of early detection. Which is why a few days after I got out of the hospital, my brother, who's been my biggest support, he helped me arrange a charity bake sale that could help us raise a fund for thyroid cancer research. And that act of kindness did go a long way because it helped me reach the headquarters in New York of United Nations and pitch my idea over there. We thought we had seen it all, and I was trying very hard to get out all of the negativity in my life when the biggest tragedy of all took place. My baby brother, who had been my biggest support, who had been an amazing human being and helped so many people, who was a medical student in King Edward Medical University, just didn't wake up one day. So for me to accept that someone so healthy, you know, when I was the one who got sick and he was completely healthy, it didn't make sense. In that moment, I didn't have any question in my head except for why. And I guess that experience taught me that there really isn't an answer sometimes. Life doesn't always make sense. That put me in a period of a lot of depression, and I didn't want to go on in life. I think the only source of encouragement and positivity was my husband, who stepped in and told me that I need to pass my final exams and graduate on time. Until date, I thank him for doing that because he saved me from the poison which is known as regret. Now, everything seems so trivial when I hear someone tell me, you know, their crush didn't message them back, or you have an exam that you're going to fail. It all really doesn't matter if you are healthy and you have your loved ones and you're okay. You're here. So I guess the key in life is to stop assuming, because we all assume. We assume things. We assume what we have today will always be there tomorrow. We assume who we love is always going to be with us. All these assumptions will never be true. They never have been and they never will. At some point, life will prove you wrong. And at that point, you can safely say that you have been through a life-changing event. And when that happens, you're not the same person anymore. You have changed. Don't let anyone tell you that that's not true. You have changed because you cannot accept that that has happened, and once you've accepted it, you wish you could change everything, but you can't. And you cannot forget either, because how do you forget when a big part of your heart has been ripped out of your chest forever? So I guess the message to really take home with you today is turning your tragedies into triumph is not easy. The key to do it is to get a hold of yourself and tell yourself that your tragedies do not define who you are as a person, but what you do about them will define who you become in the future. It's to take all that pain and all that suffering and all that anger and channelize it into something beautiful. Turn it into art that can make difference in someone else's lives while you're still on this planet. Utilize your time to do something good. For my parents and I, who were also doctors, for us it was the only way we could do this was to turn everything that we ever felt into helping people out. We established a foundation called Zainul Haq Foundation in my brother's name to carry on and keep his dream alive of helping people. So every week we set up a free clinic where people get free checkups and medicines and education. And that is what gives us strength at the end of the day to go on in life. To know that we took our tragedies and we turned it into triumph. I am here as an example that I've been through all of these tragedies, but I stand before you all as a doctor, as a cancer survivor, as an advocate for free healthcare and education, as a general secretary of Zainul Haq Foundation, and as a phoenix who has died multiple times, but has risen from the ashes. I would like to end my talk with a funny saying that my brother used to have. जिंदगी ने दिए मुझे हर मोड़ पे धोखे, जिंदगी ने दिए मुझे हर मोड़ पे धोखे, पर कोई बात